I've strung up some lines to give me a little bit of visual. I did the measurements. Now, I'm not so sure how square the deck is, but we're building the ramp off the deck, so I measured on the deck spot that I thought was the same, and I ran the strings from the same spots on the posts that I sank into the concrete. And there I have measured it out. Attached the string at the end point. Got it tight. I got the measurement off of the deck. I measured off of the string, off of one string, measured to the other string, the same distance that I was on the deck, and I put that string opposite. Now that should be our angle. There's going to be a post every 6 feet. And the stringers are going to attach to the posts. The posts are going to be secured in the concrete. Then I'm going to cross brace the stringers the whole distance, so it's going to be 3 stringers and cross braces in between, and a post every 6 feet with a 2 5-inch bolts and nuts attached, holding this all together. Now at the end post will have the 4x4s attached with an anchor, and they will also be braced on each side with an L bracket, so that there will be no movement in any direction. No, it's coming along pretty good. Okay, so this is a compilation of our project to build a wheelchair ramp, and we're a little bit moved along in the process here. I'm starting to install the 4x4 posts here. I'll try to catch up as we go along. Now, if you watch the other videos, you'll know that I had to do some demo on the deck and make an opening for the ramp to go into, to attach to, and I had to make a set of steps. There were a set of steps where this ramp is now. Now there's a ramp and a set of steps. So we're jumping ahead, and I'm gonna try to make maybe a 30-minute video covering all this in one shot, and that way if anybody is building a ramp, they can refer to this. And anybody who is a subscriber to my channel and watches all my videos, you can also possibly enjoy the video and see the process from beginning to end. So here I'm installing a bracket, a 4x4 bracket. The requirements code requires that these brackets be used if they're installation on the concrete, if these poles are installed on the concrete, and it requires a metal bracket on all 4 sides. So what it is, you end up taking 2 of these brackets and you offset them so that you have coverage on all sides. And there are 3 screws that go into each side, so you end up with 12 screws into these 4x4 posts. Now in the center is a concrete anchor and washers. Now the concrete anchor, it goes into the concrete about 1 3/4 inches, and it doesn't completely secure the 4x4 posts, but it does give you somewhere to build off of. If you wanted to push these poles down, you probably could, but it's strong enough that when you get everything else together, you know, it's going to stay up. It doesn't have a lot of strength by itself. I overbuilt this ramp. When you're building a ramp, you need to go to find out your local codes and regulations, and if a permit is required. Now this ramp is in the backyard, and I know some cities and municipalities don't require any type of permitting if you're building it yourself in your backyard, but if it's in the front and goes into the main entrance, of course it has to always meet code. Now it may not require a permit, you'll have to find that out for yourself, but it always has to meet code. And everything about this this build meets the local codes where I built this. And one of those is the concrete. When you're installing on the concrete, you have to use these metal plates to secure and anchor the posts. Like I said, I overbuilt this thing where the 4x4 posts meet the 2x6s or 2x8s, or I used 5-inch long, 1/2-inch hex bolts, galvanized, and I used the nuts and the washers, everything heavy duty. I used the best fasteners to fasten the wood, screwed every bit of it. At this point I had put up 2 sets of posts and was ready to start putting in some stringers. I had some help that day. My wife graciously volunteered to help me. This job is I'm not going to really get into who this is, who owns this ramp. If they want to, they can say or comment in the comment sections, but this is a subscriber who owns this, who I built this ramp for. They asked me if I was interested in building it. I did it just so I could help them and film the process for other people. This is not a paid project. I'm not getting paid to do this job. So any help I could get doing this was greatly appreciated. And like I say, most days you'll see me working by myself. You'll see we just used jack stands there. You have to learn to use jack stands and clamps whenever possible. And we got a lot done over the weekend, as you can see. I've been fighting with the rain. It's rained the last 3 days, I think, on this project. So we worked in the rain a couple of days, and gonna work again today. And if it rains, I'm just, as long as it's not lightning, I'll keep working. So see what I can get done today. So we're off on the next day, and what I was getting back to, using the jack stands and clamps. When you're working by yourself, really difficult. You have to learn to use clamps, jack stands, things to hold something while you put a screw in. Sometimes it's really difficult. Sometimes I would not recommend it. There are some things that just really require an extra hand, although the only help I had with this was the footage you saw of my wife helping. That was the only assistance that I had anywhere on this project. I haven't ever built a ramp before. Basically, I tell everybody I am not a carpenter. I'm not good at carpentry, but I do know how to use tools. I know wood sizes, I know wood, I know a little bit of physics and engineering, and I know how to read. So I didn't have a blueprint for this ramp. All I did was see the regulations, the codes, what is required, and you know, I have learned over the years working with my father and working on jobs and doing things, home improvement myself. I've learned how to do these things. So I haven't ever built anything wooden like this before, but I have put up fences and helped build decks, so I had a little understanding. Now here we are, I'm putting in the sister joints. Also, I was putting in sister joints on the day that my wife was helping. What I did to connect these stringers, I made sister joints and secured them with 4 half-inch bolts, so that keeps all the strength in the wood. It's probably much stronger now than it would be if it was just one piece of wood. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that it is. And so these sister joints really are a good thing as far as strength goes if you're taking length. I had no way of moving large pieces of wood, so I couldn't use long wood. Okay, day 8, I think, on the wheelchair ramp project. Got a lot done yesterday. Things getting together, getting closer. It's a big project. I have a lot of materials to work with today. I don't have to get materials. Once again, it's rained, so it's supposed to stay clear pretty much during the day and rain again tonight. So I'm going to see how much I can get done, so let's get to it. Yeah, so it rained during the day. Every day I worked on this project. I think it rained at some point during the day. I just kept working as long as it wasn't lightning and it wasn't too annoying, wasn't tearing up my tools. I carried on. Otherwise, I would have never finished this project. This project ended up being a much bigger project than I had anticipated. Like I said, I had never built anything like this, and it was a lot of work. Now here I'm putting in the center set of stringers. Here I'm using hangers. You can look up your codes. Codes are all different on that, but you can find all this stuff at your local lumber store, Home Depot, Lowe's. I used the hangers in the center there, and I cross braced in between these hangers. Like I say, I didn't have a blueprint. I just went by the regulations, the requirements, and the code, and used regular building practices. The ramp is a 1 to 12, 12 to 1. There's a requirement for ramps that say that for every 1 inch of rise, the length of the ramp has to be a foot. So there was 28 inches of rise in the deck. To get to the 28 inches, it took, actually it comes out to be for every foot of rise, you have to, for every inch of rise, you have to have a foot of ramp. So it ended up being, the rise was 27 inches, ramp ends up being around 27 feet long, 26, 27 feet long. That assures that the slope is not too great for somebody to push. Okay, back to the wheelchair ramp. I've been off the project for a week. I had to stop. I have a load. I'm back on the project today, and I have a load of materials, but we have some vehicles in the way, so each piece is gonna have to be carried. So it's gonna be quite a task to get the materials into place. So I'm just gonna get all the materials into place and get started a little later. So let's go. So I'm loading new materials, and here this is the decking material. I ran out of material several times on this project because of the environment we're in right now, the economy, and with what's going on with lockdowns. There's a lot of building going on, and there are no delivery. We were a month out on the delivery, so if I ordered today, it would be a month before I would receive the product. So I elected to buy the product myself and bring it home in my pickup truck.
And I have the angles correct with the boards and my level, yeah, right on, and it's going to be a good strong connection. Now the 4x4 posts are going to mount right in the center of these, so should work out just right. But I wanted to show these before I went back to the hyperlapse. So that's where we're at. I'm going to put it back on hyperlapse.
And we're back to working. Like I say, I had to move all this material myself, make all the trips to the hardware store, a supply store. So every day I spent an hour before or an hour after loading wood or getting some part that I needed. Every day I had to do make a trip. So an hour or two were spent every day before and after.
So this is how it ended up turning out on this end. The sister joints in, and the 4x4s are secured in real good. And getting ready to put in some decking. Last center stringer.
I tried to find plans available to build a deck like this, a ramp. People say that they have them available, but when you try to find them, they're usually just advertisements, or they try to sell you plans. I could find no complete plans available for free anywhere. So, like I said, I just used common building practices and went by the local codes and regulations for building a ramp. I haven't ever built anything like this, so I think it's possible for anybody that knows how to use tools, anybody that knows common building practices, levels, squares, cutting, things like that. You would be able to build a ramp like this and probably do a better job than me, because like I always say, I am a terrible carpenter. I was surprised this turned out as good as it did, although I will say, look at the pole I'm at right there. If you see that spacer there between the pole and the ramp, I put that pole an inch out. It's incorrect. That will have major consequences later on. I'll bring it back up here in a little while, and that goes back to me being a terrible carpenter. So I'm putting in the decking now. Each piece of the decking has 6 screws. each 10-foot section of decking makes 3 planks. So that's 18 screws per board. Took a lot of boards, and like I say, I had to bring all that home myself. Here I am cutting off the poles to length. The requirements, here's a few requirements that I'll tell you. 37-inch minimum on the height of the railing. Also, if a railing is required if the ramp is over 18 inches, I believe, over 18 inches off the ground. There are other requirements, like I say, you'll have to look those up in your local area, but this one was required to have railing, of course, because it was pretty high. This is a 37.5-inch rail that I'm going to install. So I'm cutting these off at 37.5 on the highest end, and here I am doing it myself, so you can see how this process is sometimes difficult. Also, cutting these posts off, these 4x4 posts. Actually, I didn't have a saw big enough to cut these posts. I would recommend you have the correct tools. I needed a bigger saw. I have to make several cuts for each pole, and it really makes for a mess. Now you will see that pole that I was referring to earlier, the one that's off, the one right there. That is off by an inch, and look what it does to this railing. It makes a mess of this job. Now, it doesn't mean it's not safe. It's just as safe, it's just as secure. But in order to catch that pole that's 1 inch off, I have to jack this railing out. The top railing, I have to jack it out in order to catch it and come back and catch the next pole. So the railing has like a big warp in it. To me it looks really bad. I had decided I was going to take this pole out and redo it. Well, the problem with that, all of that decking would have to come back off, and I would have to dismantle this thing backwards to that pole. That's the only way to get the pole out of there. So I decided that I just wasn't going to do it. I was not going to replace the pole. It didn't have any effect on the strength of the ramp. This wasn't a paid project, although I took as much pride in doing it. I took as much care in building it, but this wasn't a paid project, and I was not going to take this ramp apart to fix basically a cosmetic problem. So back to the project. Installing the rails, cutting the poles off at the correct height. And I think it's about now that I'm finally figuring out how to make these angled cuts. It's very tricky because they're on opposite sides, and when you flip the angle, it gets confusing, so my cuts weren't coming out correctly, but about now I'm starting to get it. It took me that long to really get a good cut, so it's really coming together now. We're getting all of the angles correct, and we're getting the top rail on. We're gonna run a 2x4 kind of a finish underneath this railing on the outside. Really isn't required. Most people put another piece of the decking under it, but that adds a lot of cost. Now also, I believe there should be a center rail in between all these going down the center. because of cost and the availability. Okay, last day on the wheelchair ramp project. Just doing some touch-ups. Sorry about that. Just doing some touch-ups. I have one more pole to put in, and that's going to be I've had a difficult time with this one that has creek rock concreted in. I don't want to drill into that or take it out. I can't get a post hole digger in there, so I'm going to anchor it into the concrete and make the railing come down to the concrete. And then I'm going to, and here's sorry about this, I don't have any, I have no tripods today. I have no way of holding the camera, so I'm going to try to do this the old-fashioned way with just my hands. So I'm going to try to put this railing in here, attach it to the concrete, and we're going to put some concrete. I've read where it possibly could work to put some concrete here to make that transition better over in this area. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to do some sanding, get some of the rough spots off so people don't get splinters. That's probably something you don't have to do, but, and I have one 2x4 put in here, the bottom, the toe rail, and that will be it. Sorry about the shaking and all the camera stuff. I've been packing tools home. This project has gone on for nearly a month, so I've accumulated a lot of tools here, and I took them all home yesterday, and I took too many. So, all right, and I forget where to look when I'm doing it in selfie mode, so my eyes have been off in that direction, and they should have been in that direction. So, okay, let's finish this project up. Let's get with it. So we may put that rail in at a later time. So now I'm back to it. I'm putting in I had to get more materials. So here I'm putting the last of the toe rail in, and I'm putting up a railing for the steps. Now, these are the steps that were in earlier videos. I decided the best thing to do was put a 4x4 post in the concrete again and secure off of that back to the deck. Otherwise I would have had to dig through some concreted creek rock. So that was going to be impossible. Here I am having to make another one of those angles, but I'd taken my tools home, so I didn't have the angle guide that I needed. So I did the best I could, got a good angle on it in the end, and got this thing built and secured. I would like to put a cross piece on this in the future, but here I went ahead and sanded all of the splinters off, all of the rough edges created by the screws, and finishing up this project. This thing ran about a month. It was a long one. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down in the comments section. I'll try to answer. If you have any questions about this build, like I said earlier, I have never built anything like this before. I didn't have plans. Probably should have had plans, but you know, that's what this channel is about. That's the way I do it. Other people may do it another way, but that's the way I do it. That's my motto. And here I have read that you can use concrete at the base of these things to make an access, to make a smooth transition. It may bust out, but you can change. So here we are. Here's the finished product. The finished ramp. It meets all code. It is a good access. The steps are actually more secure than the steps were previously. It ended up being a pretty good job. I'm happy with everything except for that one pole that's 1 inch off. And like I say, I guess if this was a paid project that was someone that wasn't somebody I knew or a relative, and it was crucial, the appearance, then I would take it all apart and redo it, of course. But it doesn't look too bad. It's just something I notice every time I see it. Others may not even notice it, I'm not sure. But the ramp is secure, it's very safe, and it meets all requirements, and it does what it's needed to do, and that's to get someone safely into the house in a wheelchair. Now, the width of this thing, the inside width, total clearance is 37 inches. A normal wheelchair, the width is 26 inches. The requirement is that it be at least 37 inches wide, and ours meets that requirement. It's a good width. I'll tell you a few things about this build. This is pressure treated severe weather wood. It's very expensive as wood goes. One 2x4 of this stuff when I built this was $7.80. That's just for one 2x4. So this wood is very expensive. If you had to pay someone to do this project, by the time you pay the materials and the hours, the labor, this ramp would have been an expensive proposition. So don't be surprised when you go to purchase the materials for this job. You may, I don't know, you'll have to look into it. You may be better off to get someone to do it. Maybe they have better access to materials and it's cheaper. They could use different materials. I'm not sure, but these materials meet the specifications and they will last in all weather requirements. If this was regular pine that I was using, this stuff would start rotting and it would actually start deteriorating in one season. So those of you who haven't built things for outside use in the past, know that if you don't use treated wood, you will regret it. And you have to pay the price for this treated wood. So there it is, the finished product. I don't know if I really told you anything, but if you have any questions, put them down below. And if you're looking to do one of these projects, make sure you find out if you are required to have a permit, and just follow the codes. And it's just about regular building practices and using tools in a normal manner. Measure twice, cut once, and that's the way I do it. They probably would do this another way, but that's the way I do it. We'll see you next time. So if you like the channel, if you like what you see, consider subscribing and just hit the subscribe button. And if you hit that bell icon, that will notify you when I have new content. The channel will be changing a little bit, and I'm going to start recording my everyday life. I'll be doing these projects when I get free time. I will also do things that you recommend in the comments. If you want to know how to do something, if you want me to try to do something before you do it, put it in the comment down below, and I'll see what I can do. Like I've been alluding to the last few videos, if you watch till the end, you'll know that the channel is going to be changing. Going to be recording my days of my everyday life. I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad. I have twins on the way, so I will be taking care of the twins, and taking care of the house and doing the cooking and cleaning and fixing of the cars and any projects that come along. So it ought to be fun to follow my experiences, everyday life. It ought to be fun. We'll see what happens. So once again, that's the way I do it. We'll see you next time.